Got a new bag from Oscar and Hamish. Fits perfectly under there. I think it's actually part of a Model X set. Fantastic. I love bags. That's my mobile vlogging bag now. So I put all my, laptop and stuff in there, and it just stands up neatly at the back. Perfect. Right, I'm, as you might have seen, going for a quick skate today. And get Jasper to school first. So I'll see you in a mo. Right, so for traffic avoidance reasons, I'm here a little bit early. I will be meeting up with Mark though and going for a little board to see how much the parking costs. Traffic, I hate it. I thought about it and I thought, well, do I go home and do some editing and then come here? And I thought, no, I will use my mobile office. Did you get the paint changed or something?
No, it's a loaner.
Oh.
Mine's in for service. I looked in the driver's seat and I thought, wonder where he is. I bet he's in the bike shop. I never even thought of looking in the back.
No, I'm trying to get back into this whole editing thing.
It's in his office.
Pack this away, I'll be with you. Right, let's go have fun. Oh, a wet patch. Every time I come here, oh well, I suppose that's what it's for. You've completely converted now, haven't you, to the bamboo?
Oh yeah, this is my go-to. Absolutely my go-to. Brilliant.
And also dirty.
Yeah, it'll clean. It's a damp rag away from being immaculate.
Is there a coffee place around here?
There is.
It's a bit early for coffee, isn't it? Oh no, it's perfect.
It's too early.
Perfect coffee time. Mark's holiday snaps. When you went to Amsterdam.
Well, no, we went to Holland.
We went to Holland, yes. And Tilburg. I've never been there and I would like to go.
It's big.
Yeah?
And one thing we
Obviously not as big as the mothership though.
No, one thing we did see.
Yeah.
Right next door to the big grey building with fairly unique windows, which has got Tesla written on it, there's another big grey building with the same unique windows which doesn't have Tesla going on it. That's going to be ready in about a year and a bit's time. That fits in quite nicely with Model 3, yeah.
Yeah, the business end of a supercharger that's being installed in Holland, yeah?
I can see Eindhoven, that, yeah.
That is what really sets Tesla apart from the others.
Oh, yeah.
They are doing that because if they don't, people can't drive their cars around properly and efficiently the way that people want to drive them around.
This is actually an expanded site. There's already 8 superchargers, and they've realised people are queuing, so we'll put a further bunch in.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Ahead of the curve.
Now, they're always ahead of the curve. They understand what's necessary. This is what frustrates me. Okay, let's say that, I don't know, who sells EVs at the moment? Nissan. Let's say that Nissan don't actually want to install their own chargers. But what they could do is they could go into a partnership with somebody else who installs them, and they just keep funneling money into that business to make sure that there are chargers. Because if there were banks of chargers, people would use them and people would feel much more inclined to buy a Nissan Leaf, for example, especially now they've got bigger batteries, but or the Jaguar I-Pace. And that's why, waiting for it to come before you install the infrastructure means what you're basically doing is waiting for Tesla to build the market. There will be no market for EVs without Tesla, and the only reason there's a market for Teslas is because they've put the infrastructure in there. And it's not kind of Mickey Mouse infrastructure, is it? I mean, we're talking industrial scale power delivery here. That's what's called for. I suppose it frustrates me because I talk to people like Jaguar and they're like, well, there are charging networks that are doing it and we're supporting them, and it's like, okay, well, where's the site? Where's the first site? Oh, it doesn't exist yet. Maybe some point next year. Oh, okay, and how many chargers at that site? Oh, well, probably one. Really? One charger some point next year. Okay. How, what? No.
I did hear that Fastned, who are the...
yeah, they do some big ones.
Well, I heard they're coming over to the UK.
Really? Well, that's good. Yeah. That's very good. I want EVs to be... I see no reason why every vehicle in that car park couldn't be an EV. But never going to get there if you can't pull up to your long distance trip motorway service area and find a bank of chargers. Banks, they need to be 10s, 20, 50 of them per motorway service area, and then you've got, you know, an infrastructure that really does support long distance travel. And it's just, I suppose it frustrates me that the only car maker that gets that is Tesla, and they get a lot of bad rap, don't they, for the fact that, you know, it's like, oh well, it's, you know, they're putting in a proprietary one, and I understand why they're doing that, but that's not really the point, whether it's proprietary or not. I mean, Tesla, they're doing it themselves, so they can honestly put anything they want in the ground. The key point is that somebody's doing it, you know? I mean, I think it's better to have standards. Honestly, it'd be nicer if everyone could use the superchargers, but I'd rather somebody just put them in. EVs won't exist otherwise. That's my thoughts on the subject.
Well, thanks to the European supercharger network, this time that I went over to Europe, I didn't even pre-plan anything. Yeah. Nothing. I just literally, I think it's the first time that I've done a road trip to Europe where I drove my car exactly the same as I would have driven an old diesel or an old petrol car. Just got in and knew full well that there wasn't going to be a problem. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I went in my car to Italy last summer, and it's exactly the polar opposite of what you would get in an I-Pace, a Leaf, a Zoe, you know, any other electric vehicle that's sold at the moment. And it is the reason why those companies should really sort out this charging infrastructure problem. It is not good enough to turn around and say, well, we will be doing it. Will be is not done it yet. I could rant on about this for ages because it's one of my biggest frustrations, and I think a lot of people that don't drive Teslas, they feel almost hard done by the fact that Tesla has done this. And they could have put, you know, standard ones in, but then they would have charged at half the rate, which would have reduced the amount of people buying Teslas, which means that there'd be less chargers installed because there'd be less cars being sold, and Tesla would be a smaller company. So I can see why they're not doing that. But right, maybe let's do a bit more boarding. It's a bit windy. I hope the sound's going to be all right. Lunchtime. Got your Instagram shot? I have. That's great.
Excellent.
That is, I like that.
I like your Instagram. It's very good.
Thank you.
I need to, yes. I'm not good at Instagram.
You see, I might do nothing at the moment on YouTube, but I do put stuff on Instagram.
Well, and you do good shots on Instagram, you know?
Thanks a lot. I just enjoy it, and it's fun, and it makes me smile, and I laugh.
I'll put a link to his Instagram in the description, because it's cool.
Thanks very much. Many times, when you drive around, you see superchargers. I mean, I think Oxford is a classic, although Oxford, I think, is just taking into account the future need for superchargers. But many a time you'll see a supercharged location where the superchargers are in, not working. So everything is there, everything is ready to go, but it's not switched live. And it is annoying, but when you understand what's behind it, that to get the supply to those chargers, that cable might have to go over 6 or 7 people's property. Each person's property, there will be a contract to say we're allowed to go over your property. So that's a contract between Tesla and the landowner. And what's in it for the landowner to actually entertain that contract is nothing. It's not a commercial decision on the part of the landowner. They get nothing out of it. And so they give it the same urgency as something that they don't make anything out of. So the lease document might get filled out, signed, sent off to the landowner in full agreement who says you can cable straight across my land. But then the landowner will put no urgency on returning that signed document back, which means they can't cut it live, and it just holds the whole thing up. The UK government need to recognise that supplying electricity for vehicle charging is as important as putting in a gas main.
It's infrastructure.
It's the country's infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, we're in 2018. They should treat it as infrastructure so that if a company wants to put a vehicle charging station in, they can approach the landowner, and if the landowner says no, they can basically say, hard luck, it's going in.
It's amazing how much effort goes into building out the supercharger network, isn't it? I mean, it
is.
I mean, it's one of the things I think Tesla doesn't get anything like enough credit for the efforts they make and the barriers that they have to overcome. Now, obviously, I suppose the incentive is there for Tesla because they're selling cars, but other people could be doing this. That's what annoys me. If they don't want to do it specifically to their brand, it would be much better if they use a standard. They could be doing it for everyone. And I know people keep saying, well, they are, but the only people I've ever bumped into that are making any real effort to support long distance travel is Ecotricity. And I suppose there's some other people on the continent, but equally I drove to Italy, and the whole way, all the way to Italy, all the way back, I saw a couple of slow charge posts in Italy that we couldn't use. Probably might have been able to install an app and get them going, in fairness. And I also saw a quick charger, one lonely CHAdeMO quick charger. I think it was CHAdeMO only at a northern French service area, motorway service area. But that's it. Which is, I mean, that's not exactly going to support anything. You know, if I tried to drive my Nissan Leaf to Italy the way I drove my Tesla, just get in and drive and, you know, stop when I find a charger, then I'd probably still be in northern France pushing my car.
When we've all got electric cars, because one of the differences here, every car in the car park here, I pretty much can say without knowing who these guys are, none of them have got a petrol station at home. Absolutely none of them. In the future, I wonder how many charge points will we need across the country if the country was fully EV? I don't think it'd be as many as we've got petrol stations.
No, we definitely need far less chargers than petrol stations. You obviously need to do something with cities, and I think the solution has got to be quick chargers whilst you're doing something else that takes 40 minutes an hour. Because in a city, that will give you enough charge for a week. So it's reasonable, you know, you shop once a week, shopping takes an hour. If you quick charge while you shop, then you can also drive the rest of the week. Job done. Apart from that though, if people are charging at home, you only got to worry about the long journey drives, and even then, the greater the range, and this is one of the problems that quick charge companies have when they're installing infrastructure, is they spend a fortune on hardware which goes out of date because, you know, 50 kilowatts is so last year. Now it's all about the 100 kilowatts, and on top of that, as the cars get longer and longer ranges, you have less and less need for the infrastructure, so the business case that supported that investment starts to erode beneath their feet. Whereas with Tesla, because they sell cars, the opposite happens. At the moment, they're spending a lot on infrastructure. They're also selling more and more and more cars. As the cars get longer and longer ranges, it just means that they can slow down the pace of supercharger installs. So it's actually good for Tesla when they get long ranges, whereas for other quick charge, you know, network operators, it's bad. If everyone drove, I mean, you know, if everybody who currently drives a longer range EV like a Tesla or whatever had gone out and bought a 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, Ecotricity would be raking it in, and there'd be a queue at every one of their quick charge stations. The problem is that, you know, back then you had to stop every 35-50 miles on the motorway, and now most cars will do 100 miles before they really need to charge. So you only have to use every third one, not every single one. You know, quick charging is really difficult to build a business case around unless you sell something else, whether that's electricity or cars or whatever, but not the actual quick charging. That is really difficult, which is why the ultimate customer for a lot of quick charge networks, you'd think it was the EV driver, but it isn't. The actual customer, the people who are paying the bills, really, is the government that's given out grants to that company, which is why they don't actually care too much about EV drivers. Oh, it's not working. We're not really bothered. Oh, the app is a faff to use and doesn't work properly. Oh, you need to apply for an RFID card and you have to be a resident in this country to get it. Well, we don't really care because honestly, you're not our customer. You're not going to give us anything. You're going to give us a few pence for using our quick charger. Whoop-de-doo. The government gave us 100 grand for this site. Who do you think they care about? The problem is the government haven't got their thinking joined up because most of the politicians don't drive EVs, so they don't tend to demand the right things. We want to give you some money to install quick chargers, but we want you to be part of a nationwide UK app that anyone can just install and sign up. And if you don't have that, you won't get a penny of the grant money for installing that charger. If they did that, it would be bye-bye all these individual, you know, charge your car, Polar, Ecotricity, all those apps would disappear overnight and they would all be replaced by this one app that did everything. That's why it requires some central leadership, because ultimately that's where the money's coming from in the vast majority of cases. Except when it comes to Tesla. When it comes to Tesla, the ultimate customer are the people who buy the cars. It's not what they make from supercharging, it's what they make from selling the cars, which means they have to supply good infrastructure so people will buy the cars, which is why the supercharging network is peerless, and, you know, across the world. It's just a totally next level. It's the future of how long distance electric vehicle charging works. And you can see it right now if you own a Tesla. I've now got more footage than I know what to do with. Let's jump on the boards. I'm going to head home, and I think rather unusually I'm going to end today's vlog post right now, just because I've got loads of editing to do when I get home and I want to put all my cameras away and just enjoy the ride back. So, hope you've enjoyed today's vlog post. If you have, remember to like it, share it and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next instalment of my daily vlog. Bye.
You know the old Tesla sat nav, how famous it is? It shows crossing a river, so we turn up, it's a ferry.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going down, it's not got air suspension. She had to get out. Look, yeah, you're okay, come on. Just as we're going on. Oh, it was close, but close is a miss.